Hey everybody, welcome back to the War Boss Bitch channel. Today we are going to be going to the Age of Fantasy and taking a look at the Shadow Stalkers. Now all the models that you see in this video are from one-page rules. They have finally completed the entire set of Shadow Stalkers, so I get to show you what they all look like. Let's go ahead and get right into the rules. Look at that huge list of rules. We'll go over a couple of them here. Most of the stuff we'll go over as we see them on the units. Breath attack. Once per this model's activation before attacking, roll a die, and on a 2+, one enemy unit within 6 in line of sight takes one hit with a blast of 3 and AP 1. This is like a dragon breathing fire. Ensnare. Enemies get -1 to hit in melee when attacking units where all models have this rule, giving you a little bit of survivability and teaching those lower quality troops to go fight something else. Ethereal counts as having stealth and strider. When taking a wound, roll one die, and on a 6+, it is ignored. This is an additional save on top of your normal save. Magic perception. When this model and its unit take a wound, roll one die, and on a 6, it is ignored. If the wound was from a spell, then it is ignored on a 2+ instead. This is another additional save, and these can stack, so you can have multiple saves on the same wounds. Scourge Master. This model and its unit get +1 to hit in melee, bringing your lower quality troops up. Sense Magic. When taking a wound, roll one die, and on a 6, it is ignored. If the wound is from a spell, then it is ignored on a 2+ instead. Again, another additional save. The big difference between the ghostly undead that we've seen in the past that had layer upon layer of save is that not all of these are going to be available to all the units of Shadow Stalkers, so you might get some combination, but you're not going to get 4 or 5 different rerolls. It's just not possible with the way it's constructed. Another big one for the army is Shadowborn. Whenever a unit where most models have this rule fails a morale test that causes it to be shaken or routed, the test counts as passed instead. Then, roll as many dice as the number of wounds it would take to fully destroy it, and for each result of 1 to 3, the unit takes 1 wound, which can't be ignored. So that's all the overarching special rules that cover a lot of stuff. Let's go ahead and look at the spells. So this is the spell list for the Shadow Stalkers. Let's take a look at the buffs and the debuffs they give out. Haunted. Target 2 enemy units within 18 to get -1 to their next morale test roll. Cobweb. Target 2 friendly units within 12 to get +1 to defense rolls next time they take hits. And Possessed. Target 2 enemy units within 18. They get -3 or -4 inches of movement next time they charge or rush. So that Possessed spell means that you're going to be able to run down your enemies and tear them in half. Let's go ahead and take a look at the units. So for this army, we have a narrative hero that we're going to go ahead and pull out and look at first. And I am going to butcher this name. Omashu and Koffitz. Quality 5, Defense 5. Carnivore means it gets +1 to hit in melee. Ensnare is the -1 to hit this unit in melee. Hero, Shadowborn, Stealth, -1 to hit when you're shooting at it from more than 9 inches away. Strider, it ignores difficult terrain when it moves. Toughness 6, and Unique, so you're only ever going to be able to take one of these in your army because it is a named special character. Comes equipped with Heavy Claws for 3 attacks AP2, and a Heavy Hand Weapon for 3 attacks AP1. No upgrades. For the unique characters, you get what you get. And with no special rules that would affect a unit, this character looks like it's designed to fight on its own. With all the buffs to its attacks and all the negatives to hit it with shooting and in close combat, even though it's defense 5, it's going to feel a lot tougher than it is. Now we're going to get into the regular army units with the heroes, starting off with the Butchered Champion, quality 3, defense 3, Devour. Whenever it attacks in melee, it rolls a dice, and on a 6, the enemy takes 1 wound. Fear of 1, which means that it counts as having dealt 1 extra wound for checking who won melee. Hero, Shadowborn, Stealth, and Toughness 6. Comes with a Butcher's Blade for 6 attacks, AP1 with Rending. Now let's look at its unit special rules. You could do Nightshade, which gives it Magic Perception, which is the extra layer of defense. Dream Stalker, which gives it Soul Hunter, where this model and its unit can move +2 or +4 extra inches whenever it rushes or charges. or Umbral Horror for Vicious Aura, which means this model and its unit get poison in melee. You can change out that 6 attacks with the Butcher's Blade for a Throwing Spear and a Bash. That Throwing Spear has 6 attacks at AP 1 at 12 inches, so that is a mighty Throwing Spear. Or a Great Weapon, which gives it 6 attacks at AP 3. And then down here in the bottom, you can give it a Sensor Bearer for Shadow Sensor, which means enemy units cannot ambush within 12 of this model. Now with Quality 3, Defense 3, and Toughness 6, along with Stealth and Shadowborn giving it the quasi-undead rule, it's going to be a close combat monster on its own. Or if you really wanted to, you can spend the points to put it into a unit. My personal favorite hero would be to give it the Soul Hunter to make this guy and his unit move like they are fast, catch stuff unaware. And for the combat characters, I like giving them a big hand weapon, so I would go for the 6 attacks at AP 3. But your mileage may vary. Next unit is the Reaper Champion, Quality 3, Defense of 4, Head Taker. And Head Taker means that it is AP plus 2 against units where most models have Toughness 3 or higher, so this is a heavy infantry or other character killer. Hero, Shadowborn, Stealth, and Toughness 3. Comes with a great weapon for 3 attacks AP 2. Again, we have the unit options of Magic Perception, Soul Hunter, or Vicious Aura. And this is the fun part. You can choose what mount you want to put this character on. You could do a Great Flayer to give him Ensnare, Fast, Impact 4, Toughness 6, and 2 more attacks AP 1. And with that Ensnare, it's -1 to hit in combat, making him a bit tankier. Or a Flying Beast, which gives you Breath Attack, Fear of 2, Flying, Toughness 12, Defense 1, Heavy Claws for 6 more attacks AP 1, and 4 attacks AP 1 with Stomp. And this is the model for the Flying Beast. This thing, I think, looks great. On top of just being a close combat beast. So with flying, it's going to be able to ignore everything while it moves. It's just going to move. So what I would do with this is put it on a Flying Beast. Give it Soul Hunter because it doesn't innately get the fast rule with the Flying Beast. And then with Head Taker, giving it AP plus 2 against stuff that's Toughness 3 or higher, use this to go fight against other characters or other big things. Your Great Weapon is going to turn into AP 5. You might need it, depending if the enemy has some kind of protection thing on them. And then the Heavy Claw and Stomp, that's 10 attacks that are going to be AP 3 whenever you get to attack bigger stuff. Comes in at 545 points, but if you're just ripping characters out of the enemy army or ripping down their war machines, it's worth it. Next character is the Phantom Champion, Quality 4, Defense of 5, Ethereal, Hero, Shadowborn, and Toughness 3. Comes with a Throwing Spear, 2 attacks, AP 1 at 12, and a hand weapon for 2 attacks. Again, we have Soul Hunter, Scourge Master, and Vicious Aura, but here we have the Army Standard Bearer, which gives this character an additional Fear of 3. You can give it a Shadow Sensor to push enemy ambushers out to 12 inches, and you can replace the Throwing Spear and hand weapon with a Heavy Assault Weapon, 4 attacks, AP 1 with Rending. Now, a Fear of 3 with the Army Standard Bearer. This would make a great addition to any of your foot troops, just to make sure that you're going to win whatever combat you get in, forcing the enemy to take morale tests. Even though you have Shadowborn, meaning that you're not going to be shaken or routed, it's still a gamble when you have to roll that dice to see if any of your units just disappear. Next character is the Spectre Champion, Quality 5, Defense 6, Ethereal, Hero, Shadowborn, and Toughness 3. Comes with a Champion Shadow Staff, 2 attacks, 18 inches, AP 1 and Rending, and a Claw with 1 attack. So here for the rules, we have Nightshade, which gives the Magic Perception, and Hex Banshee, which means it's a caster 2, giving you access to the spell list. You can change out the staff for a Champion Shadow Wand for 4 attacks at 12 inches with Rending. You can give it the Shadow Sensor to push enemy ambushers back, and you can also upgrade it with Teleport, which means before attacking, you can pick up that model and put it anywhere within 6 inches. Ignores terrain, ignores enemy models, everything. You just bloop, bloop, move it. And say you're going to start your activation from wherever you ended up. Now this is going to be a ranged character. You either use the 18-inch staff or you use the 12-inch wand. You would want to sync it into any other ranged units you have. And with the added caster on top of it, with the ranged unit around it, that gives you some ablative wounds, gives you a little bit of insurance to just continue casting throughout the game. Then our last hero is the Scourge Champion. Quality 5, Defense 5, Hero, Shadowborn, Stealth, and Toughness 3. Comes with a heavy hand weapon for 3 attacks, AP 1. The rules you can tack onto it are Soul Hunter, Scourge Master, Vicious Aura, or Fear of 3, all things that we've seen so far. You can switch out the heavy hand weapon for a dual heavy hand weapon for 4 attacks, AP 1, heavy halberd for 3 attacks, AP 1 and rending, a heavy great weapon for 3 attacks, AP 3, or a heavy spear for 3 attacks, AP 1 and counter. And we haven't talked about counter yet. Even when this model is charged, it gets to fight first. And if the enemy has impact rule, like a cavalry model, it reduces that impact by 1 for every model that has counter. So if you have a 10-man unit of spears, all with counter, they will stop 10 impact hits from cavalry. But if you only have 5, they'll only stop 5. So if it's 10 cavalry, they still get 5 of them. You can upgrade the character with a Great Hound for plus 3 toughness, 3 attacks at AP 2 with Strider and Ensnare, and you can also give it the Shadow Sensor to push back ambushes. Now we're going to move on to the units. Our first one is Scourges. Quality 5, Defense 5, Shadowborn, and Stealth. They all have hand weapons for 1 attack apiece, and you can give them what I like to call the command section. We'll go over it here, and then as we go along, I'll just say command options. You could do a Sergeant, which gives 1 model in the unit plus 1 to hit. A Musician, which gives plus 1 inch of movement to the unit. Or a Banner, which gives it plus 1 to its morale tests. You can give 1 model in the unit the Shadow Sensor to push back ambushes. And you can replace all the hand weapons with halberds for rending or spears for counter. This is just going to be your cheap chaff unit. My suggestion with it is just to keep it stock at 95 points or give everybody spears so they can kind of form a picket line to stop the enemy from charging through an area. Next unit is Tormentors. Quality 4, Defense 6, Ensnare, Scout, Shadowborn, and Stealth. They have 2 attacks apiece with Poisoned Toxin Daggers. You can upgrade all of them with Deadly Stingers for 1 more attack at AP 2, but it is limited, so they only get to use it once. And you can also put on that Shadow Sensor. So with the Scout rule, that means that they're going to be able to start 12 inches in front of your deployment. So when the game starts, they're going to be usually 12 inches from the enemy deployment zone, meaning that this is going to be a shock assault type unit. And with 2 attacks apiece, with poison, they're only 100 points, but again, there's only 5 of them. Something to throw at the enemy just to get them to roll some armor saves. Or something to use for board position to kind of block the enemy from going where they are. Next unit is Phantoms. Quality 4, Defense 5, Ethereal, and Shadowborn. They come with Throwing Spears, 1 attack at AP 1, 12-inch range, and 1 attack with hand weapons. And you can replace all of the Throwing Spears and hand weapons with Assault weapons that remove their ranged attack and just give them all 2 attacks apiece with Rending. And you could do the Shadow Sensor on this unit as well. I think that's something that you're going to be able to do on most of units. So I'll just say Shadow Sensor when we get to it. You'll know what I'm talking about. So 12-inch ranged throwing weapons on an Ethereal Undead unit. So you come with Stealth and Strider. They can go where they need to go. They're harder to shoot. On top of the extra defense roll of a 6. They're an interesting unit. Yeah, that's about all I have for it. Just an interesting unit. Maybe use them to harass the enemy and block off movement lanes. Now we're going to start getting into some power units. Reapers, 5 of them. Quality 3, Defense 4, Head Taker, Shadowborn, and Stealth. So again, Head Taker, they're going to get AP 2 whenever they attack stuff that is Toughness 3 or higher. They come with Halberds, which is 2 attacks apiece with Rending, and you can replace those Halberds with Great Weapons, which are 2 attacks apiece at AP 2, and they have the Shadow Sensor. So if you want a unit that's going out there to hunt big stuff, give them the Great Weapons, charge them at the enemy big stuff. It's going to be AP 4, 2 attacks apiece, hitting on a 3. This unit will get stuff done. Next unit is Spectres. Quality 5, Defense 6, Ethereal, and Shadowborn. They have Shadow Staffs, 1 attack, AP 1, Rending at 18 inches, and 1 attack apiece with Claws. You can replace the Shadow Staffs with the Wands for 2 shots with Rending at 12 inches. You could do the Command upgrades, give them Shadow Step for teleport, and the Shadow Sensor. So this has some interesting, really cool options. So Teleport and Shadow Wands, 120 points, 10 shots, 12 inches with Rending. Teleporting, so you can bounce them around whenever they activate to get over top of terrain or the enemy units and fire at stuff in the backfield that you couldn't see before. Opens up some tactical options that usually aren't there for ranged units. Next unit is the Reaper Flayers, quality 3, defense 4, fast, head taker, impact 2, shadowborn, stealth, and toughness 3. They each come with great weapons for 1 attack at AP 2. Now this is the heavy caliber for the army, and with head taker and the great weapons, they're going to be hitting big stuff on AP 4. Impact 2, head taker does not affect your impact hits, so with impact hits, whenever you charge something, you roll a dice for each impact, and on a 2-up, the enemy takes a hit. It's just their base armor save. You could do the command upgrades. You can replace all the great weapons with lances, and the way lances work now in 3.4, you get +1 to hit and AP 1 whenever you charge with those. And then they have the shadow sensor option. So normally I like lances, and in this case I still like the lance, just because it is 2 attacks instead of the 1 attack, and with head taker, your lances, on top of being AP +1 whenever you charge just for being a lance, they're going to be AP 3. So more attacks, AP 3 versus AP 4 in Age of Fantasy is not that big of a breakpoint like it is in Grimdark Future. There's not very many 2-up defenses in Age of Fantasy. Mostly you see defense at 3, unless you get to some really truly heavy stuff. So lances versus great weapons, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be pushing the enemy to a 6-up save. So I would say lances are the better choice here. Next unit is Butchers. Quality 3, defensive 3, Devour, Shadowborn, Stealth, and Toughness 3. And Devour, remember, if you roll a 6 whenever you're in melee, the enemy takes 1 wound. Doesn't seem to happen much, at least in my videos. Whenever I use it, I'm always not rolling a 6, but if you're lucky, just extra wounds you can throw out there. They come with Butcher's Blades for 3 attacks, AP 1 and Rending. They have the option for the Shadow Sensor. And then you can replace all the Butcher's Blades with Throwing Spears for 3 attacks at AP 1 at 12 inches, or Heavy Great Weapons for 3 attacks at AP 3. Now, just personal opinion, whenever I have a unit of 3 of big guys, I like to put heavy AP on those. For 20 extra points, jumping it up from AP 1 Rending to AP 3, I think is the way to go. 270 points, not bad at all. Next unit is Shadow Hounds. Quality 5, defense 5, fast, shadowborn, stealth, and strider. 2 attacks apiece with their claws. You can give them the shadow sensor, and you can also upgrade them with scout and poison in melee. So again, like I usually say with these small units of hounds, use these as a harassing pain in the butt unit. Run them up a flank, make the enemy have to chase them down to deal with them, and if they don't, use them to run and contest or steal objectives in the enemy backfield around turn 3 or 4. Fang Swarms. Quality 6, defense 6, ensnare, shadowborn, stealth, and toughness 3. 3 attacks apiece with rending. You can give them the shadow sensor, and you can upgrade them to poison and ambush. Now, Fang Swarms, like most swarms, don't expect them to be a combat unit. These are just there to be either objective holders, objective contesters, or objective stealers. If you want to use them to steal objectives, I would say ambush. That way they can drop behind enemy lines after the enemy moves away from objectives in their home field. Or just having these in the army list forces them to keep a unit standing back there to stop them from doing it. You could also use these as a cheap way to have 9 wounds sitting on top of your home objective so the enemy doesn't do the same thing to you. And with Shadowborn, they're not going to run away. The enemy has to chew through all 9 of those wounds or hope that you fall apart when you do your Shadowborn rolls. Then the last unit before we get into monsters are Fiends. Quality 4, defensive 4, ambush, ensnare, Shadowborn, stealth, and toughness 3. 3 attacks apiece with rending. You can give them Venom Spitter for 3 attacks with poison at 12 inches, and you can give them the Shadow Sensor. Kind of a hybrid unit where you can upgrade them with the Venom Spitters to where they can either charge into stuff that has gotten into where it's not supposed to be, and they can move up with your battle line to get 9 poison shots at 12 inches when you have all 3 of them there. And I'll tell you what, I just love the way the Fiends look. They're like a cross between dinosaurs and displacer beasts that I did not know that I needed in my life. So in the list that I put together today, it's got quite a few Fiends, just because I loved painting them. Now we move on to the monsters. Starting off with the Great Horror. Quality 4, defense 3, breath attack, fear of 1, flying, shadowborn, stealth, and toughness 6. 3 attacks at AP 1 with heavy claws, and 2 attacks at AP 1 with a stomp, and it can be upgraded for a shadow sensor. So breath attack, flying, toughness 6. This is going to be a large, just monster missile to be thrown at the enemy. 165 points, that's cheap enough. Throw multiples of these at the enemy and tell them, deal with this. Ha! Next unit is the Great Fiend. Quality 3, defensive 3. Ambush, ensnare, shadowborn, stealth, and toughness 6. 4 attacks with rending and 2 attacks AP1 with stomp. You can upgrade them with a venom spitter for 6 shots at 12 inches with rending and a shadow sensor. Now, quality 3, defense 3. This is a very elite style monster. Something you normally don't see out of Age of Fantasy monsters. So it's really tough, and it is going to be effective in close combat. With that ambush rule, popping it up on turn 2 where the enemy does not want you to be, charging into stuff, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. Again, at 190 points, it is cheap enough just to kind of fire and forget. And with ensnare, meaning the enemy is going to be -1 to hit this thing in close combat, that's where it wants to be. That coupled with defense 3, it's going to be around for a while or require a lot of resources to get rid of it. Next unit is the Great Screecher. Quality 4, defense 3, caster 3, ethereal, fear of 1, shadowborn, and toughness 6. Comes with a dual hand weapon for 6 attacks. You can upgrade it with teleport, and you can give it a Mind Blaster Shriek for 2 shots, blast 3 at 12 inches, or a Mind Piercer Screech, 2 attacks at 12 inches, AP1 and deadly 3. You can also give it the Shadow Sensor upgrade. Now with Caster 3, you get access to all of the spells, and in this case, normally where I like to buff stuff with spells, this is going to be an amazing offensive caster. So an option you can do is you can give it Teleport for that 6-inch bouncing around, give it that Mind Blaster Shriek, that way it's going to be doing blast damage at range whenever it fights units. And then on top of that, Thorn Vines here, being 3 magic points to fire, you're going to be able to fire this every turn on a 4-up, shooting 2 enemy units in 12, taking 6 hits each. This thing is just going to be spreading all kinds of love on the battlefield. Next unit is the Terror Beast. Quality 4, defensive 3. It comes with fear of 2, protected to where whenever something attacks it, it counts the enemy weapons as having AP -1. So if the enemy had AP 3, it would count only as AP 2. Shadowborn, Stealth, Strider, and Toughness 12. Now we're getting into the heavier stuff with the higher toughness. 8 attacks AP 2 with a Heavy Claw, and 4 attacks AP 1 with Stomp. You can upgrade it with a Spear Rider for 1 attack, AP 2 and Deadly 3, or a Dual Sword Rider for 3 attacks, and they are reliable, which means they hit on a 2. And then you can upgrade it with a sensor. So here is the first all melee, tough, meant to be in the thick of everything monster. 12 attacks on its own. Go ahead and upgrade it with one of these two, either the Spear Rider if you want to go after tougher stuff, or the Dual Sword Rider if you want to just wade through full blocks of enemy infantry. That one's up to you. Either one is great. Just choose what you want to send it at. Then we have the Blind Behemoth. Quality 3, defense 3, fear of 2, sense magic, so it has an additional save of a 6, shadowborn, stealth, and toughness 12. 3 attacks AP1 with blast from its great flail, and 4 attacks AP1 with stomp. You can replace the great flail with a great mace for just 8 attacks AP3, and you can give it the shadow sensor upgrade. Once again, another great combat monster that is just going to wade through the enemy. Once again, Great Flail is there to go through multiple models in one unit, and the Great Mace is going to be there for everything else. And just look at that thing's face. Oh, I love this army. Next unit is the Great Terror Beast. Quality 4, defensive 3, fear of 2, shadowborn, stealth, strider, and toughness 18. Has 8 attacks at AP 4 from a Great Claw, 6 attacks with reliable from its Stalker crew, and 6 attacks at AP 2. You can upgrade it with the Shadow Sensor. That's all the options it has. That's all the options it needs. This thing is rip and tear incarnate. That's all there is to say. This thing will absolutely eviscerate whatever it touches. Heavy armor stands no chance. 8 attacks AP 4. On top of 6 attacks AP 2, and then 6 attacks that are just going to hit on a 2 with reliable regardless. This is just going to make everything hurt. And then the last unit in the army list is the Ascended Fiend. Quality 2, defensive 2. Ambush, ensnare, fear of 2, shadowborn, stealth, and toughness 12. 8 attacks with rending from its rending claw, 4 attacks AP1 with stealth. You can upgrade it with a venom spinner for 12 shots at 12 inches with poison, and it can have a shadow sensor. Now this thing is 600 points, but that is 600 points of absolute terror. With ambush, it will pop up even in the middle of the enemy's battle line. It doesn't matter, it's going to charge in and just wreck face. Defense 2, ensnare, giving it -1 to hit in melee. It is going to just do bad things. I have no words. So that is it for the Shadow Stalkers. That is every unit they have, giving you a little insight on what every unit does. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what the army is all about. But now we are going to go out into the garage, where we are going to see the Shadow Stalkers fight against an entire sea of orcs. Welcome out to the garage, everybody. Today we have the Shadow Stalkers. I cooked up this army list deciding to work more tall than wide. We've got less models, but they are better quality models. Let's see how they do today against the mass of green that is the orcs. First we have the Reaper Champion on a flying beast. He's going to be the hero for the army. 2 units of 10 Scourges down here, 3 Fiends, a Great Screecher, 2 Great Fiends, and a Blind Behemoth. So these are the creatures of Nightmare. Let's go check out the Green Tide. Then the orc list that we have today is the opposite philosophy. It was built wide instead of tall. Starting at the top, there are 2 squads of 10 Hobgoblins, 2 squads of 20 orcs with terrifying shields, 2 squads of 10 wild orcs with wild leaders, a unit of 10 black orcs with a black orc boss with war cry, 3 wild brute orcs, 2 squads of 5 wild shooters, and then 2 squads of 10 boar boys back there with mob leaders with violent trance. So let's check out the board. Alright, we skipped a couple of steps here. This is what the board looks like. We got 1, 2, 3 objectives on the field. We went for the diagonal deployment. So here is the orc army. And then the Shadow Stalkers. They deployed back in their deployment zone because this is just a whole lot of green beef coming their direction. So after skipping all these steps, we don't have to do any dice rolling. The Shadow Stalkers are going to be going first. So we're just going to roll right into turn number 1. So over here we got a unit of 10 Scourges. They are just going to double time it forward just to get in front of everybody else for a screen. First orc unit to move is going to be the Boar Boys, moving flat out. They're going to end up there, putting them just in range of the Blind Behemoth. So starting off with combat here, the Great Behemoth, we're going to start with the Great Flail. Hitting on a 3, that's going to be 3 hits. That will be blast of 3, so that's going to be 9 hits. But we're going to do the other attacks first. Stomp attacks. One of those hit. All those attacks are AP1, so the boars are saving on a 6. We got a few, losing 7. All right, time to fight back. We're attacking back with the lances, not charging, so this just counts as regular attacks on a 5. 2 hits. 3. So it took 1 wound, and then it has the sense magic, so he gets to roll again. It still goes through. It needed a 6 on that one. Putting the big guy at 11 wounds and having to back up 1 inch. I forgot the morale test. Oh, they're going to stick. The orcs making some moves. The black orcs are going to head that direction. They go all the way to there with their leader having the war cry, giving them pretty much fast. Next move, the Great Screecher is going to move through the woods with its ethereal ability, and then is going to start casting some stuff this direction. 9 inches to the black orcs, and everything else here is in range. So, what are you casting?
Thorn Vines.
Thorn Vines, okay. Goes off on a 4. Yeah, it's going to go off, and that's going to be for the Wild Brutes and the Black Orcs. Okay, the Black Orcs going to save on a 3. I lose 2. And then the Wild Brutes going to save on a 5. Ooh, 4. So we lose 1 1/3, and then 2 of the black orcs. Next activation for the orcs, we've got our big block of orc troops. They're just going to move forward towards that objective. Moving that green tide forward. Champion on the flying fiend is going to end up over there, staring down the barrel of some wild orcs. Being just out of charge range of these wild orcs, we're going to go ahead and move them forward to end up right there, screaming obscenities at the flying beast. Stupid stuff. We're going to have a great fiend run in there and attack. The rending claws, white, everything else black. What do you hit on?
It looks like a 3.
All right.
Or I can drop stuff.
For 3. We got 1 miss out of all that. Saving on a 6 because they are naked orcs. We save 1, so we lose 4. And then time for the clapback. For the fight back, he has ensnare, which means it's going to be -1 to hit. I normally hit on a 5. This makes it a 6. 4 hits. Saving on 3s. It's going to take 3 wounds back. Ooh. The fiend won combat, so time for a morale test. And the orcs are going to fail. So the fiend goes down to 3, and then the wild orcs are stunned. There's a whole second flank that the orcs are holding right now. This unit of wild orcs, they are going to double time it around the building to there. Second unit of scourges moves up. Unit of hobgoblins there behind the church, they're going to move forward. Everything's getting squeezed in the push here. Unit of fiends are going to move to there. The boar boy is going to move forward. Moving up to that corner of the church over there. The second great fiend is going to thread the needle and get itself stuck in right there. So we got stomps and everything else hitting on a 3 with 3 misses. Saving on a 6. Fail all 3. Down to 3 guys and the unit leader hitting on a 6. On a 6. 1 whole hit. And it takes a wound. Ha ha. But the wild orcs lost combat, and they're going to take off.
So the wild orcs are just going to be gone.
And then that big guy's down to 5. So that's it for the Shadow Stalkers. We're going to go ahead and move some more orcs. That whole flank pretty much needs to move. So through the powers of editing, the flank ends up looking like that. And then last activation, the wild brutes are going to charge into the Great Screecher. So this is not the ideal target. One attack a piece of AP4 with blast of 3. Blast doesn't really matter here. Hitting on a 4 with frenzy. 2 hits. Oh, good lord, 2 6s. All right, 6 attacks hitting on 4s. 3 hits. Saving on a 5. Ooh, we lose all 3. Morale test. And they're going to fail. So losing those 3, it'd be 1, 2, 3, but then fail the morale test, so boom, gone. So that concludes turn number 1. The orcs have not had much luck with combat this turn, but hopefully they will start overwhelming the Shadow Stalkers with numbers. These Shadow Stalkers are playing KG knowing that they really only need to fight for that middle objective in order to win the game in the end. We're going to see who could be the unstoppable force and who is the immovable object. I've been informed that he's going to do something stupid, so let's see what he does.
Move here. Cast the vines. Then attack. There.
Okay. Oh, then attack there.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, not that stupid.
All right. So, Thorn Vines on a 4, it's going to go off. All right, let's do that first. On the Black Orcs, looking for a 3. They're going to lose 2 more. And then on the Boar Boys, look for a 5. Yeah, we lose 3. So that's going to be everyone except for the leader. Now it's melee time.
Hitting on 4.
Okay, it hit 5 times, saving on a 5. That'll do it. So over here we lose 2 of the Black Orcs, and then all of this ends up getting cut down by the screaming and the chopping of the Great Screecher. So like waves crashing upon the shore, we're going to start having some of these orcs hit home. with a unit of Wild Orcs hitting the Great Fiend. Alright, Violent Trance on that unit, which means they get +1 to hit. Means they're going to be hitting on a 4 with Frenzy. That means they're going to be Furious with AP1. Here we go. So after all that roll, we have 5 6s for 5 extra hits. All of that at AP1. 4 up. Yeah, he gone. Smash. So the Scorched Champion is going to be the next one to fight. He's going in there. Alright, so let's start the fun. Breath Attack on a 2 up. Yup, that's going to happen. Saving on a 6. Failed all 3. For the rest of the attacks hitting on a 3, they're all at least AP1, so it doesn't matter that much. Lots of 1s and 2s. Saving on a 6. Losing another 5, so for a total of 8. So 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're left with 2 guys in the leader to fight back. Their attacks back. Now we are fatigued. Looking for 6. 1 whole hit. It takes a wound. Ha! Take that. Morale test for the Wild Orcs. Yeah, they're going to fail. So that'll be the end of these. And then the Flying Beast goes down to 14. We're going to have them Black Orcs charge into the Blind Behemoth. We got our Black Orcs going in. The leader is going to be the black dice. Everything else is the white dice. Hitting on a 4. With the Furious, so we got a couple extra hits in there. We got 3 extra hits out of all that. And with Head Taker, that puts everything to saving on a 6. Nothing there, but with Spell Eater, they roll again. And again, nothing. So that is a total of 8 wounds. Now he gets to fight back. So blasting attacks, 2 hits. AP1 saving on a 4. Losing 3. And then Stomp. 3 hits, saving on a 4. Losing 1 more. Morale test for the Blind Behemoth. And it's going to pass. So the big guy's down to 3, and we lose 1, 2.
There's a 3 on here somewhere.
Yeah, there's on there somewhere. 3, 4. And we fall back with the rest. Unit of Fiends going to push into those Black Orcs. 9 attacks on a 4. Saving on a 3. Oh, we're going to lose 3. All we got left is the Black Orc leader. 3 attacks on a 6. Ooh, 1 hit. AP3. They got to take 1 wound. Morale test for the Black Orc leader. Hey, he's going to pass. So that guy's down to 2. These guys are gone. And he's down to 2. There we go. Next, we're going to move the wall of orcs forward onto the objective. Putting themselves right there. First unit of the Scourges, they are going to start moving towards that direction to go kick some orc butt. Not this turn, but probably next turn. Next activate, we're going to do the Hobgoblins. Moving on the objective. Like that. Big old bony-faced blind basher dude is going to fight the Black Orc champion. Hitting on a 6, we got nothing. Stomps. 1 stomp. 2 stomps. Saving on a 4. Oh, he's got 1 wound left. The orc fights back with his heavy great weapon on a 6. Nothing. Losing the wound and fear means the Black Orc loses combat. And he's going to stick around. He is down to 1. But we're still fighting. I think this is the best angle to pull this shot off. So these orc boys on the boars are going to go fight the flying beast thing. So that was a bad angle. We're only going to be able to really get 6 of them in there. So let's see what happens. So it's going to be 5 boar riders and the mob leader. Impacts first. 6 hits. Saving on a 3. Fails 2. And then lances from everybody. Quality 5. Charging with a lance on a 4. Violent trance, we hit on a 3. 5 hits. Saving on a 4 for 1 more point of damage. Hitting on a 6 for fatigued. We have 2 hits. Saving on a 6. I lose 2 boar boys. So with a fear of 2, the orcs actually lose combat. It's 3 to 2, and then the 2 extra from the fear pushes it to 3 to 4. And they're going to be stunned. So big guy goes down to 11. All of these back up an inch. We lose 2 and are stunned. Next, we got the Great Fiend is going to run around to charge into those boar boys. If he takes out 4 more of them, they're going to take off running. We got rendings and stomps, and the rendings are in black. 4 hits, saving on a 5. Nothing. Fighting back on a 6. Ooh, 1 whole hit. Saving. Yep, saves. So with the loss of 4 of them, that puts it below half. And when they're already stunned, they fail all of their morale tests. Go him. So that means this whole unit of boar boys takes off running. So with that happening, the other big unit of orcs, they're going to move around the church as well. Going to there. Last activation for the Shadow Stalkers. The other unit of stalkers is just going to go right to there. So that's it for the Shadow Stalkers. Let's go ahead and do all the rest of the orcs' movements. These wild orc shooters are going to move there and then shoot at the Great Screecher. Firing the short bows on a 5. 1 hit. Save. Second unit of wild orc shooters is going to move to there, and then they are going to shoot this fiend right here. Hitting on a 5. Ooh, 2 hits this time. 2 saves. So at the end of turn 2, there has been an awful lot of fighting going on the board. The orcs actually are not doing as good as I thought they would, but they are doing the orc swarm tactic on top of the objective. Middle objective already has 2 rather large squads on it that need to be chewed through before it can even be contested. So let's see what happens on turn number 3. First activation, turn 3, we got the big flying snake-headed smoke wing thing charging into this unit of 20 orcs. Starting off with a breath attack on a 2. That goes off. That's going to be 3 dead orcs. Now the orcs are -1 to hit because they have terrifying shields, even though the Shadow Stalkers are made out of nightmares. Apparently orcs have some really bad dreams. So 13 attacks and everything else, we're going to be hitting on a 4. AP doesn't really matter because everything goes right through. That's a lot of hits. Saving on a 6. That's a lot of fails. All that put together, we have 14 dead orcs. So let's pull them and see what we got left. And that's it. Ooh, Lord. Fighting back looking for a 5. 2 whole hits. And saved. Quality test for morale. Oh yeah, they pooped their pantaloons. Ah! Boss, uh-oh. And this guy, Over here on this side, the second big group of orcs are going to charge into the Great Fiend. We're going to fight like that. So we were only able to get 12 of them in there, hitting on a 5. With Furious, and that's an awful lot of 6s. Saving on a 3. 4 wounds go through. Fighting back. 3 hits. Saving on a 6. We're going to lose 3. Morale test for the Fiend, and it's going to pass. So the Fiend is down to 1. We're going to lose, what was it, 3 orcs? Yes. 3 orcs. And then everybody gets to back up an inch. There we go. Next, we're going to do Scourges right on top of the objective. Wild Orc's going to charge in over here. 5 attacks. Oh, absolutely nothing. Uh-oh. Fighting back, looking for 5s. 3 hits, saving on a 5. Oh, whoops. Morale test. Hey, they pass. So, 1, 2, 3. And then pull these guys back. Next, more Scourges. Charging in. 6 attacks, not a 5. Whiff! 2 attacks back. Oh, 1 hit. Saves. So, moving backwards an inch. There we go. The Black Orcs champion is going to just nut up and charge into the blind behemoth. Black Orc boss has 3 attacks, hitting out of 4. 1 hit, but he is furious. That turns into 2. Saves on a 6. It takes 2. That means he is down to 1. Flail attacks. 2 hits. Saving on a 4. Oh! Stomps. 3 hits. Saving on a 4. Oh no! The 1 dice! That was almost epic. At the last second. The Great Screecher gonna move here and then start throwing some spells this direction. Casting Thorns! Oh, it doesn't go off this time. Next for the Orcs, we're gonna have our Hobgoblins charge into this first unit of Scourges. Like that. 20 attacks, hitting on a 5. 7 hits, saving on a 5. 4 dead. Fighting back.
On a 5. 3 hits.
3 hits, saving on a 6. 3 dead. Now the Scourges need to take a morale test, which they fail, but they are undead. Undead roll. He's going to lose 2 more. 6 guys there, and then 3 guys here. Ta-da! So the rest of the turn is just going to be maneuvered, no more fighting. He's going to move some fiends over this direction, and then the blind behemoth, might as well move that at the same time. Pushing towards that objective. The only thing we got left over here is the wild orcs, and then they are going to move forward 6. And because of the height difference between the units, they're going to be able to fire into him. 5 shots on a 5. 2 whole hits. And it saves. Last unit for the orcs is this hobgoblin squad back here. They're not going to be able to do anything. Even if they double timed, they wouldn't be able to engage over here. So they are just going to be a picket line and hold. So in turn number 3, it looks like the Shadow Stalkers have just turned on a blender against the orcs. There are so many dead orcs in the box, but casualties don't matter. It comes down to who is holding that center objective. Moving on to turn number 4. First activation, Great Screecher is going to charge there and then fire off some spells. Casting, again with the thorns, and it doesn't go off. But it does get to fight in close combat against the wild orcs. Hitting on a 4. 3 hits, saving on a 5. That'll be enough. Boof, boof. This unit of wild orcs, this time instead of shooting, they are just going to go around and charge Mr. Great Fiend. 5 attacks, hitting on a 5, AP 1 from Frenzy and Furious. 2 hits. Well, that 6 turns into 2 hits. Saving on a 4. That'll do it! Finally taking down the Great Fiend. Next activation, the leader on the flying beast is going to slam into the orcs back there. Breath attack goes off. 3 saves from that. Hey, 1 actually saved. Hitting on a 4. Still quite a few hits there. Saving on a 6. 1. 10 total. 5. 10. Now they're going to fight back. 7 attacks back. 1 whole hit. Saves. Morale test for the orcs. Bum, 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 bum. This leaves the orcs in a very weird position. All we got left is the 2 hobgoblin units to activate. They're not going to be any help. So this unit here, we're just going to charge. We're going to charge right here. 14 attacks on a 5. For 5 hits. Saving on 5. Loses 3.
Hitting on 5.
1 hit. Save! Pass the morale test. Okay. And then we got to move backwards an inch. So that'll be the last activation because we're just going to hold over here. Let's see what the Shadow Stalkers can pull off here. Okay, we'll go ahead and move the fiends and then do the behemoth. Then we'll just run everything as melee at the end. I did not see the orcs being outnumbered at the end of the game, but here we are. Bang. All right. 9 attacks with the Pending Claws on a 4. 2 hits. 6 and then 5. So we fail both of those. 3 attacks back. 2 hits. Fails 1. Morale test for the orcs. They fail. One of those fiends goes down to 1. We lose 2 of the orcs. And then we got 3 left, which are stunned. It's turn 4, so yay. Time for the behemoth. The blacks are the blasts, the stomps of the whites. Hitting out 3. Not bad. All AP more than matters, so saving on a 6 with all this. And we save 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Uh-oh. 4, 7. That's it. That's all the orcs have. I can't even pick them up. I'm dropping them everywhere. So that is going to do it. That is the end of turn number 4. And with a score of 2-1, the victory goes to the Shadow Stalkers. One of the few times here in the garage that an army built tall has beaten an army built wide. We were actually both surprised that the Shadow Stalkers were able to mulch through that many orcs that quickly. So if you made it this far into the video, the models are awesome. The rules are awesome. Go pick some up from one-page rules. And that is going to do it for us out here in the garage today. I hope you guys are having fun playing OPR wherever you are. And I'll talk with you later. Bye-bye.